Hey guys, what is going on? We are in the zone. We are missing one of our co-hosts today, and Anthony Pagniello. We're sure we will get him back shortly, but I am here with Giancarlo Aulino, and today it's going to basically be mostly about the playoffs. We got a couple other controversial hot takes that we are going to quickly discuss in the realm of basketball. It's in the title. It's pretty damn funny. We've been bashing him for a long time. Aulino, I don't know if you want to start with basketball or with hockey, but I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to start with basketball today. So to start it off, a couple days ago, we saw game ones go around. I think it was Sunday. It was either Sunday or Saturday. I want to quickly talk about what's transpired thus far. I know game one between Milwaukee and the Heat went into overtime. It was really close, but then yesterday the Bucks just absolutely torched the Heat, so they're already up 2-0. They're looking to, pay the favor like Miami did last year. Well, I don't know if they swept the Bucks last year. Maybe it was in 5 games, but do you see the Bucks doing about the same to the Heat this year?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think last year too was crazy. Is that Milwaukee coming into it, they were the overwhelming favorite, and then Miami, what they did, going on that run in the bubble. I don't know what it was. Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler was playing amazing, and then all of a sudden, out goes Giannis. And now this year, it's like what basically should have happened in the bubble. So if I'm Milwaukee, I continue doing it. They have a great matchup right now against Miami. If they get through, they're looking at Brooklyn in the next round, so that's going to be a big series. So I'm going to go with Giannis and Milwaukee taking on Miami here.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. I think Milwaukee, we talk all year about Brooklyn and Philly and how they are so much better than everyone else, but like, are we seriously forgetting about Giannis already? This guy just signed the max extension with Milwaukee. I think he's very motivated. They made a record actually yesterday. They made 22 threes. I think that's a record. Brian Forbes was nuts. Pat Connaughton was nuts off the bench. Even a guy like Drew Holiday getting 15 assists yesterday. Everything has just been clicking the last 2 games from Milwaukee. What do you think Miami specifically has to do to, slow down the Milwaukee Bucks? Do they have to maybe limit the 3-pointers? Because we know that Giannis isn't a great 3-point shooter. Quite frankly, he's getting better, but he's still not a comfortable 3-point shooter. What do you think Miami has to do to maybe come back and win this series against Milwaukee?
Oh, I think they have to channel in those threes that they got in the bubble. They need Hero to get more shots. They need Butler to get more shots. Oladipo, they need him to really turn it on and show what he was in Indiana when they went on that run. Looking even at Milwaukee's team, you have to encourage Giannis to shoot those threes and take a chance on them. Like you mentioned there, he's not the best 3-point shooter, so maybe limit how much possession he has inside the paint, push him more towards the perimeter, and just let him take shots and make him feel comfortable. If he gets one, you can live with it, but I think percentage-wise, it will probably be in their favor. So I don't know, Miami has to really turn it on here because Milwaukee, I don't know if they're going to lose 4 straight like when they played the Raptors that one year, and you have a motivated Giannis trying to get 2 years worth of playoffs back, and I think he's going for a sweep here against Miami.
Yeah, another thing too I want to quickly add is Brian Forbes. We all know how he was okay in San Antonio. He wasn't a guy that was lights out. He was always a pretty good 3-point shooter yesterday, dropping 22 points, 6 of 9 from 3. Do you think this is going to be happening a little more often with Brian Forbes, or do you think it was just one of those games where he was just feeling himself and just feeling the ball?
I think it can happen again. I think he's more than capable. Like what we saw the other day, I think he can still. I don't know if he's going to get like over 20, but I think he can be a real serviceable guy to get 10, 11 points off the bench, get a few rebounds, get some assists. So I think he's one of those guys that are going to come in and give some of those other guys a break that you don't play 40 minutes, 35 minutes. Having Forbes on your roster will help things along because now you have a guy who comes in and he proved that he can score at this level in the playoff time. So I think he can come in and if you're slacking a little bit, maybe give an energy boost and then go off. But yeah, I don't think he's going to win the Finals MVP if this goes forward.
Exactly. That would be funny if Forbes won the MVP. That would be jokes. But moving on, I want to quickly talk about the game one between the Mavs Clippers. We saw them last year, go at it. This rivalry is increasing. We see the animosity between Beverly and Doncic during the game. Of course, Luka Doncic doing Luka Doncic things, getting a 30-point triple-double, securing the game one win. Do you think Dallas has a chance to upset the Clippers in this series, or do you think Kawhi and Paul George are going to eventually turn it on at some point?
Yeah, I think Dallas could. And if you're the Clippers, you really have to get it going. I think Paul George has more pressure than Kawhi here because Kawhi can prove especially last year, he kind of proved it. Like he can still play in the playoffs. He's a playoff performer. On the Raptors, he carried that team to the finals on one leg, got finals MVP. But Paul George, like over and over again, there's always an excuse after year. He doesn't get it going. He's not really playing as well. Last year was horrible, and poor guy took a beating on social media. But like this year, especially when you're putting out Instagram posts and like on Twitter and everything, saying that this is going to be Finals MVP, Paul George, not really showing it. He didn't make a statement there, so I think there's more pressure on him to come out here and lead this team. And if he doesn't, you're looking at the Clippers. They're going to have a lot of questions. Maybe Kawhi, if he doesn't re-sign, or if he chooses to re-sign, maybe he'll tell management to trade Paul George. So this is a little risky on their part, but they did it when they brought in Paul George, and they knew what they were getting themselves into.
I really love what they've done, the Clippers. I mean, early in the game, when Kawhi did that astronomical huge dunk on Kleber, and then you had Marcus Morris and Paul George and Kawhi all basically yelling at him, after dunking him. That's what you do. You posterize someone, you absolutely have to yell in their face. That's a rule. But just looking at what I've seen from the Clippers and just their whole narrative the last 2 years, is it safe to say that the Clippers are the villains in the NBA?
I think it's a tie between the Clippers and the Nets recently.
Exactly.
Like Steve Nash coming out at the press conference. He pretty much owned it too. It's like we're the super villains and all that, and he was just laughing it up. So I think Brooklyn took that when they got Blake Griffin and then LaMarcus Aldridge. They carried them on, and you know what? Let's go for a championship. If you're a veteran who's been an all-star in this league, come join the Nets. Didn't unfortunately work with Aldridge. He had to retire, but Blake Griffin coming in and then all of a sudden he started dunking, I think pissed a lot of people off. So I think the Nets are there, and it'll go 1A, 1B. I think the Clippers are in second.
I agree there. Actually, this is going to actually make me go on to that series, talk about the Brooklyn and the Celtics game one. It was so much fun to watch because Boston was taking it to Brooklyn in the first half. I think they were up for majority of the first half. And then, of course, Kyrie Irving and KD in the fourth, they're going to take their shots, and they just absolutely torched them. Kyrie finished with 29, KD with 32, and James Harden only getting 21, but of course almost nearing a triple-double and only taking 13 shots. So with this being said, even though Brooklyn did win game one, there were times when I actually thought that the Boston Celtics were going to win this game. Do you believe, and I know this is a big stretch here, but if Jaylen Brown were to come back healthy, can you even see Boston taking this series? I mean, I know it sounds really, really far-fetched, but I didn't really like what I saw from Griffin. I mean, he had 1 point. Joe Harris, too, wasn't making his shots. So can you potentially see, like, let's say Harden or Irving just get cold the rest of the series. Do you see a potential upset here, or is this more likely going to be a Brooklyn sweep?
And the only upset I can see is Boston maybe winning a game. They're a horrible matchup for the Nets. Just what the Nets offer, like the Celtics don't have really anything to match there. Like you were talking about Blake Griffin getting a point and Harris being a little, he's kind of cold still, but if those guys even get 10 points, you add that to the score there, and if Kyrie ends up being cold, but you still have Kevin Durant, you have James Harden getting like 40 points, so the numbers just work in their favor too much. Like the Celtics are relying there on Tatum. Brown being like not the best of health is looking at what they can do offensively, defensively. Kemba Walker's good, but we saw now at this level, It's going in the Nets' favor. So I have this going a sweep. And if Jason Tatum can get like 60 points this time, maybe they get one game. But yeah, it's not looking good. I don't like their chances. And you also have Kyrie, his old team here. That year, the Celtics with Tatum, Brown, they all went to the conference final. They were close to going to the final, and they were all pretty much rookies. So I think Kyrie has something to prove here, and I got this going to a sweep.
Hey, there it is. I had to ask because, like I just said, Brooklyn is the villain. Everyone wants to see the villain lose, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen here. We're going to quickly move on. I want to talk about, of course, the Philly 76ers, Washington. This game was actually a lot closer than I thought. What were your thoughts on the game? I know Russ didn't particularly have a Russell Westbrook type game, but Bradley Beal, he carried it. I think they only lost by a handful of points. Again, is this series closer than it looks? Because I know Washington, they've been on a tear. I know me and you are huge Westbrook fans. He's had a great year. And Ben Simmons, man, he's been struggling this year offensively. So can you see this going 6-7, or do you just see Joel Embiid just trucking his way through in about 5 games?
It could go 7. I like their effort in game 1. Westbrook didn't do as well as he did in that play-in tournament round. So I don't know. I think like this is a matchup for the Sixers. I don't think they want it. I think they much rather have like maybe the Celtics in the first round because of the matchup too, kind of like what Brooklyn has. But you look at what Washington offers with Westbrook. If he gets going, I think he can steal a couple games. If Beal gets hot, it's just going to come down to the 76ers role players like Danny Green, Dwight Howard. Like if they can come up big and take some of the pressure off guys like Simmons and Embiid, then maybe they push them over for 6 games. But I still think this goes 7, and it's going to be a toss-up. It depends on how good Russ and Beal can play together in a game 7.
Yeah, another thing too that we always have to talk about is the greatness of duos in this league. We talk about a lot of guys, a lot of teams, they have great duos, and you talk about just specifically when you think of scoring, Westbrook and Beal might be the greatest, other than of course the triple monster in Brooklyn. I mean, what Westbrook can do every night, he's averaged about 22, 10, and 11 this year, and then you have Bradley Beal, who I think was 3rd in scoring the last 2 years. So you see what these two guys can do when they're healthy. The only thing that I can really see that helps and eases the pressure on the Sixers is just how great their defense is. When they're all on, it's amazing. Like we talk about, we don't talk about this guy enough. Tobias Harris, he's low-key like a 3rd star. A lot of people don't see him as that type of player, but man, he dropped 37 in game 1. He's a great 3rd option, actually one of the best 3rd options in the NBA. And I still think 76ers take this in 6 just based off of if Ben Simmons is not producing on the offensive end, he will always produce on the defensive end. So if you have Ben Simmons maybe guarding Russell Westbrook, you have him have a little bit more of a hard time, then I could see this being a little more one-sided. But I absolutely love Washington. I love the effort they've put in all year, even to get to this point. I think it was 2 or 3 months ago we were writing them off easily, and then all of a sudden Westbrook didn't sit out back-to-backs like he usually does, and he just was on a mission to break the triple-double record, and he did it. So even though the Wizards are probably going to lose, this season has just been remarkable for not only for Russell Westbrook, but just for the chemistry and how quick they've been able to turn it on in Washington. So I'm going to go with the Sixers in 6. And of course, I want to talk about the other side, Utah and Memphis. It really is a shame. Come on, let's be honest. Steph Curry not in the playoffs after what he did. It was amazing. He won the scoring title at 32. Game 1 goes in Memphis's favor. It was a great game from Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant. The backcourt absolutely dominated. We said that if Golden State faced Utah, they would win. Is it looking like Memphis can pull this one out of their asses, or is Donovan Mitchell coming back and that's it?
Yeah, and before that, I thought Utah might have been able to take this in 6 games the most. But the more that we hear about Donovan Mitchell, like maybe he's hurt and the coaching staff is keeping him for his own good. I like the way John Morant's playing. I like the way JV's playing. Dylan Brooks is on another level right now. So I got Memphis winning this in 5. I think they're just clicking at the right time. They got hot at the right moment. They go through San Antonio to get into this playoff round. So I like their chances here. I think JV is really meshed well with John Moran. I think they're a good pairing as a center point guard. And JV doesn't have to be too much of a scorer because he has guys like Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson on the perimeter. When he was on the Raptors, maybe at times because DeMar wasn't a three-point shooter, you need JV in the paint to get more points than he was capable of at the time. But I think now it's just he's in a great fit, great organization now, pieces around him where he can just play his game and they're playing well using him. So as long as he's in the game with Gobert and going off him, he's not going to out defense or out rebound him all the time, but he's going to get some points off him. It's a good center matchup, and I got Memphis coming out. So I like where they're going. I like JV going for a ring.
Yeah, I won't say 5, but I'll say 7 just because. And I say Memphis wins. I don't see. We talked about this and I don't want to bash Utah because man, Utah deserves the first seed. They've been a top 4 team in the West the last 3 years, ever since Mitchell basically went there. But yeah, like you said, Donovan Mitchell. I thought he was going to play. I thought he was going to maybe make this miraculous comeback. And then, of course, the coach is easing him into it. And DM is like, are you kidding me? This is the playoffs. This is the most important time of the year. I trained my ass off to get to this position where the first seed I have to defend, and then, of course, he doesn't play. So they're down early. I'm not going to say that Gobert's a bum by any means. He's a great defensive player, but JV is going to bully him in terms of offense. JV is a much better offensive center than Rudy Gobert. I think he could dominate. The only category I'm worried about with JV in this series is the rebounding because Gobert has been probably the best rebounder other than Drummond the last 7 years. So, but other than that, I love what I've seen from Dylan Brooks. I love what I've seen from John Morant. Jaren Jackson is still easing his way back from that terrible injury that made him, I think, miss most of the year. So they're an underrated 8-seeded team. Kudos to them for knocking out Steph Curry. That was very, very that impressed the shit out of me. I didn't think they would beat Golden State, but maybe this is a little run they go on. I don't really know, but all I know is John Morant is for real. He's a top 10 point guard already, and I think he can carry them, honestly, man. So I got Memphis upsetting this in 7 games. And then, of course, I'm just going to end this one off on basketball, talking about the upset. Well, I guess it's not really an upset if you look at the standings, but technically it is. Phoenix beating the Lakers 99-90. So Davis only dropping 13 points in 41 minutes of action. What do you think is going on with the Lakers, man? Do you see them potentially losing this series?
I do. I think even in the media, during the panel, they were kind of surprised at how Phoenix was playing, but then it was almost like they were treating the Lakers as a 2nd seed and Phoenix as a 7th, which I thought was kind of weird. They have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, All-Star. They have DeAndre Ayton. He's a young player, yeah. So I think that's an area where Davis should have been way better. He's getting outplayed by a rookie playoff performer. You have your front court, I think, is way better than Phoenix in terms of Harrell. You got Drummond, and then Davis, so there's no excuse for that. LeBron, I think, should have been a little bit better, and I think he's going to take even more of a hit in the media because he's already breaking protocols. He said he was injured before, but then he comes in and plays like this. In the play-in game, he was playing amazing, and then all of a sudden everyone's expecting him to go off against Phoenix. And Chris Paul getting injured a little bit. I don't know how long that's going to keep him out. I don't think it might be more of a minutes restriction than him missing games, but I have Phoenix winning this in 7 games.
Yeah, I just gotta stick with the Lakers here, just based off of how much they risked to get, to this opportunity here. They're trying to win back to back. You have Gasol, you have Harrell, you have Drummond, you have Davis, you have LeBron. Even a scary guy that I still think is unreal is KCP at times. When his shot is going, he'll give you 20 points. To me, I don't know what's going on with guys like Schroeder and Kuzma, but they have not been playing to the level of expectation for I want to say at least a month now. So they got to find their groove. I know for LeBron James, and I know Anthony Davis, he's battled, his knee, his ankle. Now it's his shoulder, apparently. So I feel like this year with AD, I just feel like he's been mentally and physically out of shape. I don't know if that's just me. He's looked a little slower. He doesn't look as explosive as he should be. So that's definitely concerning for Laker fans. And I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix won here just based off of what we saw from Devin Booker in game one. It looks like even though that was his first playoff game, dropping 34, 7, and 8, that's unreal. And we've seen time and time again from Devin Booker, he's probably one of the greatest young scorers we have seen in a very, very long time. So if there's any team, you know what this kind of reminds me of, Aulino? Do you remember the Pacers and Cavs series like 3 years ago when Oladipo was like rolling, and then like it was like, okay, like LeBron, he has Kevin Love, but he was injured. So at that time, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe Oladipo can eliminate LeBron here. So I'm slowly starting to get that vibe with Phoenix here. Like, it's not going to be a huge upset if they beat the Lakers, but they're not getting the recognition and the appreciation they deserve. Like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. These guys can all play. Even last year, remember in the bubble, they were 8-0. I mean, maybe this is for real. We don't really know yet, but LeBron is getting older. Andre Drummond sat out for like 2 months. So maybe these moves are starting to bite the Lakers in the ass, but I still got the Lakers in 7. But Chris Paul, man, this guy is known to be a winner. He's known to be a problem. And this is going to go the distance, but I still got to go with LeBron James prevailing in the first round.
You know what? A lot of people are going to probably be pissed at in the Lakers. Horton Tucker is playing garbage minutes, and he was a guy they didn't want to trade for Kyle Lowry. So they could have Kyle Lowry on their team right now, and the guy they didn't want to include in the trade is barely playing. So I think management is not going to be looked at really well if they don't get past Phoenix. I think there's going to be a lot of pissed off Laker fans, and I think that's when LeBron's going to find out that Los Angeles is not Cleveland, and they're not too they won't sweep that under the rug. They expect winning every year. So for them, I hope they have a backup plan, because this is not going to look good in the offseason.
I mean, yeah, THT is a free agent next year, and what we've seen from him when he has the minutes, he balls out. And the thing that pisses me off the most is when you have a guy like Schroeder or a guy like Caruso. I don't even know if he's even playing, but when you have those guys starting at point guard, it just looks so weird. If I'm Frank Vogel, I'm easily putting LeBron at the 1. I'd even probably start Talen Horton-Tucker just based off of what we've seen in glimpses. And Kuzma, I don't know, man. Like, I've never been a huge fan of Kyle Kuzma. I think he at times can be an absolutely unreal scorer, but I think he's just a streaky scorer, nothing really else. But Talen Horton-Tucker, man, what I saw from this guy, I know you saw it too in the early stages of this year. I think it was the preseason, man. Like he was arguably their best player out of all the reserved guys. So if I'm Frank Vogel, if they do end up going down 2-0, you really need to juggle the lineup. I think you need to put LeBron at the 1, maybe do the mismatch in terms of size. Because, man, if that's the case, then it's either Devin Booker or Chris Paul have to guard LeBron, and that's a dream made in heaven for LeBron. So if I'm Frank Vogel, absolutely I'm starting Talen Horton-Tucker for game 2 or game 3 if the Lakers lose. So we all know that they're in win now mode, but Talen Horton-Tucker, this guy's a talent that you don't want to let go. They've already let go of guys like Ingram, Lonzo Ball, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle. So I can just keep going on there, but maybe I really hope Talen Horton-Tucker stays in LA, because he can be something really special and LeBron can groom him, and it can only benefit Talen Horton-Tucker in the long run. Yeah, but that's it for basketball. We're going to go to the NHL where, oh man, there's some series have been flat out surprising. And I'm going to start this one off. You already know where I'm going with this one. I'm going to start off in the North Division, and we're going to go to the Edmonton Oilers. Aulino, you said Edmonton was going to win. They get swept. McDavid gets 150 games. What was the point of all of that, man? I mean, like, I really don't want to bash Edmonton, man. They had such a great year. Tyson Barrie had a great year. Nurse, McDavid, Draisaitl, even Nugent Hopkins, even Puljujarvi coming back was a great story. But what the hell went wrong here for the Edmonton Oilers?
Man, this is bad. All these first round picks that they had, first overall picks, get McDavid just fall into your lap and you can't make it work. You had one good playoff run. You have Draisaitl, so you have really two MVPs on your team, and a guy who just got over 100 points in a 56-game season, and you get swept by Winnipeg. So I don't know where you can go from here. I think McDavid has to go into management, to the GM's office, and really put his foot down and throw his weight around. They need to make a lot of changes, and it's not just like take a goalie here, take Mike Smith, and take a defenseman. They got to really make a big change. Nugent Hopkins, I think, has to be one of them. Yamamoto has been a nice story, but maybe you package him off. You need to look at your defenseman and find out, okay, Darnell Nurse is going to be the guy here, but he needs another partner. I think you're going to have to look at guys like Chris Letang, Phil Kessel, someone who has a contract where you can get the other team to retain and pay up with what you have and make it just a mission. You need a little bit more veteran leadership and veterans that can actually play, not just for the sake of playing, like Mike Smith. And maybe they'll have more luck, but this team was not built, I think, for a playoff run. It was a really good regular season team, get some points, and Winnipeg was just a horrible matchup for them.
Yeah, I mean, what we always talk about with playoff hockey is it's just a different monster. You become a lot more physical. Teams play a lot more defensive structures. And like you just said, you literally just said it perfectly. Edmonton is a great regular season team, but when it comes to the playoffs, they just don't have that physicality. And I mean, Zach Kassian, when they made the playoffs, I think it was 4 seasons ago, he was outstanding. And Kassian he's taken, a big, he's regressed quite a bit. And it's nothing to do with I think him as an athlete. I think it's just the time, the game's getting faster. The minutes are, he's not getting as many minutes. But I don't really know when it comes to changes with this team. Like, to me, I feel like they got to blow it up. Like, I'm just looking at who they have. They have Evan Bouchard on the back end, who's he's a young gunning defenseman. They even got that other guy that they drafted, Broberg. I think he could do something for Edmonton too, but like they don't have a guy that they can rely on other than McDavid and Draisaitl. Nugent Hopkins, I absolutely love him. His two-way game, potentially, it's not elite, but he's there. He's almost there. Because everybody, they just assume, like, they always remember Nugent Hopkins as the first overall pick, so they just always downplay his game. It's never good enough. He's never going to pan out to be the first overall pick in the 2011 draft. Like, is he better than Zibanejad? No. Is he better than Scheifele? No. And it happens, but he's been a great second line center for them for almost a decade. Actually, it's been a decade now. It's 2021, 2011 he got drafted. So Nuge, like you said, yeah, he's been there already for 10 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nuge was the guy to go. I still think they need to get rid of a couple other guys, like maybe a Yamamoto, maybe, I know Puljujarvi's trade value probably isn't that high, but if there's a team that really wants to go out there and get it, and this is a big opportunity for Edmonton to shake it up because there's Seattle coming in the league. So it depends on who they want to protect. I know Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, they are not Miro Koskinen, whatever his name is. They're not the goalies for them. And I knew that from day one. And that's why when it was the trade deadline, I'll never forget it. He was third on the trade bait board and he did not get moved. And it was Jonathan Bernier. And he was probably the best goalie available. They probably should have just taken a gamble on him. You maybe send Koskinen down to the A, or you just go with the 3 goalies like the Leafs have. But I really don't know at this point who they trade. They got Caleb Jones on the back end, he's a okay defenseman, doesn't bring a lot of value. Ethan Bear is the same. So they have a lot of guys that are, bottom 6, bottom 9, bottom 6 forward, bottom 6 defenseman. but that's about it. And that's the sad part about this team. They've had so many draft picks over the years, and they either get dealt for another package that just doesn't work out, like, for example, Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, or you trade, the rights to the 15th pick to get Griffin Reinhart, which ended up being Matthew Barzal. So it's been an abundance of terrible moves, not only by the management that's going on right now, but even by Chiarelli way back in the day. So they have a lot of stuff to work on. Obviously, McDavid and Draisaitl are not the problem, but you got to start looking at those grit type of players to put them with. I know they tried it with Cassian, they tried it with James Neal, and it just has not worked out for the Edmonton Oilers. But in terms of Winnipeg, this has been a team all year. I have me, you, Pagniello, time and time again, we say, Winnipeg, yes, they finished third in the North Division, but they are just as good as Toronto. So, I mean, Connor Hellebuck is a top 3 goalie, in my opinion, in the NHL. He just came off winning, I think, the Vezina Trophy. He was absolutely amazing. Let's not joke here. He shut down Edmonton in the series. I think I'll say him, Vasi, and Price right now are my top 3 goalies in the league, and it's not even close. And then, of course, you have the Binningtons, the Jari, a lot of other names that I definitely have missed out on, like the Saros, all those guys. But even this is a team that's overachieving big time right now, because guys like Morrissey are stepping up. Guys like Andrew Kopp, Adam Lowry, these guys have all stepped up for Winnipeg in a tremendous way. But this is the guy I really have to talk about, because he had a breakout year. He went in the same draft as William Nylander. Aulino, what have your thoughts been this year on Nikolai Ehlers? Because he, to me, has just transcended into a completely different player. And to me right now, call me crazy, he might be better than Laine right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think he turned it on this year, hit another gear. Like with Laine, it maybe held him back a little bit. He wasn't able to be that number one option for them, but ever since he traded Laine, he's kind of had to go into that role of being a winger that can provide offense, score big goals, and even get some plays going on the power play. I know they got Dubois, but I like Dubois more as an all-around player. Like, I wouldn't want to put him in that position like a Laine where we need you to score 50 goals a year. So I look at him as being a guy that really came into the team, Dubois, and you see a guy like Ehlers, they work well together. It's a nice mix that I think if Laine was there, might not have been able to work like this right now. Their defense, I think Edmonton should have been able to exploit right away. Like, you look at the Jets defense and all the guys they lost, and they're still trying to find their groove defensively, and those guys came in and shut down the best player in the world. So I don't know where they're going to go from here to Edmonton. Like you said there, maybe they have to blow it up, but it's a team that has Connor McDavid still in his early to mid-20s, and I don't think you really need first-round picks. I think your goal should be using those picks to get a superstar to play with them. And if you're Winnipeg, a guy like Ehlers right now, you can look around your roster and maybe look at pieces to build your defensive presence more. So they're a team that both of them should look at their first-round picks that they have and look at ways to use them. One team needs a lot more offense, clearly, and the other team needs some more stability on defense. And I think this offseason is going to be huge for both.
I was going to say, I know this is far-fetched and it's kind of weird, because remember when we looked back at the 2015 draft and you had Marner, you had Eichel, you had McDavid, and we thought that these guys were going to be like the next Crosby, Ovi, and McDavid and Eichel. I don't know what it is, but these guys, they're one of the most skilled, electric offensive players that I've seen in a very long time. But when it comes to their organizations, and I don't know if this is just because of the timeline from 15 to now, they have had literally zero success, zero. And it looks like Buffalo is blowing it up. It looks like Eichel's probably getting – I'm not saying McDavid's getting traded. I don't think he's going anywhere. But can you potentially see an Edmonton scenario where it finishes kind of like how Buffalo's season ended, or do you think it won't get to that extreme?
Oh, no, I don't think it will get to that extreme, because if it were to get close to it, they would probably move Draisaitl as a way to make people happy, and his trade value is still really high. One of the best centers in the league. But you look at Buffalo, sorry, like Eichel, he has no help. Like Dahlin is great as a defenseman, offensive guy, but they haven't really done anything with Eichel. They tried to make these like moves like Taylor Hall, that didn't work. Then he goes to Boston, he's amazing. They got like everyone to come in that you would think would help him, and it ends up doing the total opposite. So I just think Eichel's in the wrong system. Every year seems to be a new coach coming in and using their philosophy on him. I think he needs to go to a place like the Rangers. Him, Panarin, I think could be a good pairing, and whoever they trade maybe helps Buffalo. But I think Edmonton will keep McDavid for as long as they can, because if they get rid of him, they're not going to be that same must-see team in the West. I think McDavid's the only reason why people tune into their games right now, so it's tough being them. Buffalo might have some success if once they move Eichel and get pieces that actually best suit their system. So I don't think it will get there for Edmonton.
Oh my God! If it were, that would be must-see TV. Like, I would be tuning in every other hour. If that were to happen with Edmonton, it's like, oh my God, is Draisaitl going to the Leafs? Is McDavid going to the Leafs? Are we trading Marner and Tavares for McDavid? What's going on here? I don't know, but yeah, that series was absolutely shocking to me. I still had Winnipeg winning. I just said 7 games. I didn't think it'd be a sweep. Yeah, we quickly talked about Nikolai Ehlers. I just want to quickly talk about this Florida series. I know you really had your faith in you do have your faith in Florida. It's still 3-2. They've gone with 3 goalies. Chris Drieger, I think he played games 3 and 4. He got absolutely peppered. What have been your initial thoughts on that series? And are you surprised that Nikita Kucherov is atop the leaderboard after having hip surgery? Because I am. I didn't think he would be this good right out the gate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't think Kucherov would be playing as much as he is, actually. Like, I thought he maybe come in, play some third-line minutes, be on the power play all the time, but I didn't think he'd be putting up these kind of numbers right away. Like, just not even a transitional period for him. He just comes in and ends up scoring, being a difference maker. For Florida, I think they're really showing how much Ekblad means to them, because defensively in this playoff series, they haven't really been there. Haven't been composed like they were during the earlier parts of the season, and just in goal, I think that's what's going to cost them. 3 different goalies coming in, and they're all letting in goals. Like, none of them's really standing on their head. They had that one performance to make it a game 5 win, but like going forward, they're going to win 2 more games with the same goalie, the third string goalie. I don't think so. So maybe they get 1 game, but going between Drieger, Bobrovsky, who unfortunately has looked like he's going on the decline, kind of like Brizgalov in Philly, his old teammate, when he got that big contract. So I don't think Florida is going to make it to the next round, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a great run for Florida. I don't see them winning either. And Huberdeau leads the playoffs in points. He's got 10 in 5 games. Ever since the 2018 season, Huberdeau has been a top 5 winger, in my opinion. Just an absolute monster, a slick playmaker, and there's no need to even fret if you're a Florida fan. I mean, you're taking on the Stanley Cup champions in the first round, and this isn't even the conference that you should be in. So I think next year Florida's going to be a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference, and I think they're going to be right there again. So no need to, panic if you're a Florida fan. But the only thing I will really say that's pissed me off is, why the hell are they not playing Bobrovsky? And I know he struggled in the playoffs many, many times before, but if you're paying a goalie $10 million, you got to just bite the bullet, don't you? I mean, Dreiger's had a great year, but he hasn't had any playoff experience. You put the rookie Spencer Knight in net, and he just has an absolute gem of a game. So I guess Quenneville has to roll with him. But it still puzzles me that you're sitting a goalie that's getting paid $10 million. I really have no patience for it, and it just baffles my mind. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. They win Game 6. Their offense has just been on a different level. Victor Hedman's the best defenseman since like Nicholas Lidstrom. So I absolutely love Tampa Bay. I still think they're a top team, and I have them winning this one in 6 games. Vasi's on another level. He's actually looked weak a couple games, but that's just Florida's offense just blossoming. Like, Verhaeghe's blossomed. Vetrano, Owen Tippett, Sam Bennett Can we talk about Sam Bennett for a second? This guy is looking like a 50-point player now. He's looking solid. He's always been a playoff performer, but the chemistry was there even at the end of the regular season. So, what are your? I know you just talked about Florida, but like, what are your thoughts on Sam Bennett? Do you see this like being a regularity, or is this just a 1 year thing for Bennett?
Yeah, I think Quenneville just must have said something to him and got him on board to buy in, because Sam Bennett looks like a completely different player this season under Quenneville than he did in Calgary. So this trade worked out well for him. I think it's going to maybe help him build on next year. I think he'll get similar numbers to what he did this year, but this is something where if you're Florida and their fan base, you got to love it, because you got a player who Calgary kind of gave up on at times, and now he's onto a new system, and he's looking like that top 5 pick that he was when he got drafted by the Flames. So I'm loving it if I'm a Florida Panther fan.
I mean, yeah, it's great to see this guy. Even at draft day, everyone's already complaining, oh, we can't do a pull-up, always a bust. Like, give this guy some time. I know he's only 24, 25 now. He never had the minutes in Calgary. I mean, you have Monahan, Kachuk. They even got Lindholm to help on the top 6 of that. So that even tells you right there that they gave up on Bennett like 2 years ago. They just had him on that 3rd, 4th line to plug him in with Dylan Dubé, Andrew Mangiapane, with all those other guys. But Mangiapane and Dubé have even passed him in the depth chart. So I was really happy to see Bennett, get some fresh scenery, and absolutely he's playing lights out. I think he's on the 2nd or 3rd line with Tippett and Verhaeghe, and they're making it work. So I'm really happy to see that for Sam Bennett as well. But of course, I want to talk about the Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens, because we have to, man. We're big Leaf fans here. Game 1 was scary. We all understand that. John Tavares, we have to talk about it. This guy gets a very, very scary injury. He had damage to his neck. He has a concussion. And, of course, when he landed, he hurt his knee as well. What were your initial thoughts on Game 1? We'll quickly talk about Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3. But what were your initial thoughts on the accidental hit by Corey Perry? And what are you expecting from John Tavares for this, at least in the near future, for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Oh, yeah, when that hit happened, that was like scary as a player even. All those guys were shaken up by it. Like Perry, you can tell he tried to avoid it as best he can, but the way he was going, the way Tavares was, there was no way he was going to avoid it, unfortunately. And good thing for Tavares, like I know obviously he's still got a concussion, but he's lucky he didn't get any other ligament damage, because the way his neck went back, taking that knee, could have been a lot worse than what it was. So I think a concussion, he might be able to manage a comeback here. He hurt his knee, but I see him still playing. If the Leafs make it past the first round, second round, well into it, I see him coming back maybe the 4th game into the second round. I think if it's not too bad of a concussion, I can see him being cleared early, and just as a precaution, they keep him out. But it's a good thing he didn't get injured even more. And the thing I didn't like about it, like Nick Foligno, they kind of said, oh yeah, the code there of an NHL player, and that he had to drop the gloves right away. I can understand if it was like a Todd Bertuzzi type of thing, but this was an accident. Like, you can't blame Perry for what he did, and they're still trying to go with this code. So that's the only thing I didn't really like about it. I thought that was dumb. It put your team behind 5 minutes. You got an important player like Foligno in the box. So at the end of the day, it didn't really help anything, and Montreal ended up stealing the first game. So it's a good thing the Leafs rebounded. They got the 2 wins, and now it looks like they can cruise, I think, to a 5-game win.
Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, the biggest thing that pissed me off was that people were immediately going to social media and saying, yeah, this is typical Corey Perry. He's a rat. He meant it. And it's just like, dude, this guy didn't even have time to look. Like, you could tell when he looked up, his eyes brightened. Like, he looked terrified, and he tried jumping over him, and it just decked him right in the head, and it just didn't work out. But we all know Corey Perry, he's hacked people. He jokes around. He puts the water in the other guy's glove. That was hilarious. But he's played with John Tavares in Sochi. He knows how motivated John Tavares is as an athlete. So it was also great to see him go up to JT and tap him. That's all class. That's Corey Perry for you, man. As much as people can call him a rat, at the end of the day, he's been a pro in this league for almost 20 years. So he's an absolute legend. I love the way Corey Perry dealt with it. Foligno, on the other hand, like you said, It was, to me, it is the code of hockey. You have to, I guess you have to fight them after that. But like you said, it was an accident. We all knew it was an accident. And it looked unprofessional on Nick Foligno's part. This is a guy that, you get traded to the Leafs in the first game. Yes, you're trying to set the tone, you're trying to send a message, but I would have done it in a different way, maybe scoring in the other team's net than doing a meaningless. That I don't even think that was a minute tilt. So it was a waste of time. It was a waste of 5 minutes for Foligno. But game 2 was awesome. I thought Kerfoot in game 3 on the second line looked incredible. That was probably Kerfoot. The last 2 games has been absolutely incredible. And shout out to Craig Simpson for mentioning it. His cycle game has gotten better. He looks more confident in the neutral zone. He can carry the puck in. He's just as fast as William Nylander. So what are your thoughts on Kerfoot being on the second line? I absolutely loved it. I thought he killed that part. And do you see him maybe sticking on the second line moving forward? Because I saw they were switching Kerfoot, Simmons, and Riley Nash throughout the game on the second line.
Yeah, I liked it. He finally stepped up, I think. It was a great game for Kerfoot, great performance. I think they'll stick with it just because he produced a lot more on that line. He seemed to gel with those guys, and Nylander right now playing like what he's playing, the level he's at. I think it's rubbing off on Kerfoot. I see Kerfoot as a guy that he could move up and down, like maybe as a center. They'll probably look towards Thornton in that role, so we'll see Kerfoot more on the wing. But if they're going to go with Nash, I'd rather have Nash on the fourth line. With Spezza, because Spezza's a guy where if you can get a little bit of a burst out of him, you can go in and score, takes the pressure off him defensively, knowing that a guy like Nash is there. With Kerfoot, I think he's better suited to be more of an offensive guy in the second line than a Nash, so I hope they keep him there, and going forward, maybe Galchenyuk gets in, but I don't know who they would take out, maybe a Nash or Kerfoot, probably Kerfoot, but if Kerfoot plays like this, I think he's going to solidify his spot there on that second line.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Even Sandin, man, the confidence that we've seen from him, it's really turned really fast in Toronto when you look at the back end. Dermott was a guy that was on that top 6 for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden now they're going with a little more grit. They're adding, Hall, Muzz, and Bogo. So 3 of the 6 there, they like to grind it out. Even a TJ Brody's another guy. He can be a little physical, but what have your initial thoughts been on Rasmus Sandin taking Dermott's spot in the top 6 and, of course, being on the top power play?
Yeah, this is a spot I think a lot of people had him coming into before the year, and then all of a sudden he doesn't get that much playing time. They don't play him some games. They go with Dermott, and especially now with Dermott, pretty much losing a spot, like you just mentioned there with Sandin. I think that kind of seals it. I think Dermott's going to be gone in the offseason. I see him being maybe a guy that Edmonton will go after because of the Erie Otters connection with McDavid. And I just see Dermott. He was a guy they've had. I think they were a little bit desperate on defense. This is before Brody came in. They really needed to keep some guys on the back end because of all the contracts they had. So I think right now Dermott, he signed that extension, took less money than what he probably could have got elsewhere, maybe over $1 million. And the Leafs ended up getting more help than what people expected. So I think this is just unfortunate for him in his career, but I think he'll find another opportunity in the offseason. I don't think his stock is going to go down too much from this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I quickly want to talk about 2 other series that I officially concluded. The first series actually that was done was the Colorado Avalanche and the Blues. I thought this was actually going to be a lot closer, but it just proves that Colorado is a different type of monster this year. What were your initial thoughts on this sweep by Colorado? They looked absolutely dominant.
For this Colorado question, I'm going to go into our co-host here, who's just joining us to talk about Colorado, his team. Pagniello, first of all, you're welcome into this episode. What are your thoughts on Colorado?
Oh man, different breed of guys over there. I feel like Colorado's in a situation like Toronto. Maybe a little ahead of us, but it's like the next 5 years, it's kind of, they could take the cup and they could win any year. This might be the start of that. I thought it would be closer, like Chris said. I cut and read at that time, but the Blues won a couple of years ago. They still have a lot of the same players, but just watching some of these games, it felt like they didn't really have a chance, and Colorado just looks like on a different level. So props to the Blues for a nice little fight for 4 games, but yeah, Avs just took over there.
Oh, Kadri. What are we gonna do with him?
Oh man, I don't think it would be the playoffs if it wasn't Nazem Kadri getting suspended. So I love it, but I hate to see it.
I love what Braden Shen said about him. How he's out of control. Someone has to get a muzzle. Like you gotta. This guy's out of control. He's got rabies. He's nuts. This guy gets suspended every year. 8 games. They said that's. I love how he wants to appeal it, but like, come on, man. It's been like 3 of the last 4 playoffs. You've gotten suspended. So I'm not surprised that it's even 8 games. I thought it would be maybe even longer than that. Like maybe a 10 to 15 game, like what they gave to Wilson a couple of years ago. But man, like Pagniello said, it's not a playoff without Kadri getting suspended.
Oh, for sure. Especially Kadri, like he misses 1 game, and it looks like he's going to be a liability, unfortunately, for Colorado. He's a great player. You'd love to have that on your team, especially in the playoffs, but shit, he's got to dial it back a little bit. This guy's getting out of control here. He's going to one more. He's getting to like Rafi Torres territory where they're going to just fucking throw the book at him and be like, okay, you're done for the playoffs now. And it's going to cost Colorado. And Kadri's a really important piece for them. If they're going to win a cup, I think you need Kadri in the lineup. Like McDavid, not McDavid. What the fuck am I saying? McKinnon's amazing. Rantanen, like that duo right there. And then you have Makar. Just imagine if Kadri stays out of the penalty box and out of the referee's minds for a whole game, that team could be dangerous even more. And you can look at a team going to the cup final against them. It'd be a horrible matchup. So if Kadri can come back and stay on his best behavior, still stay aggressive, Colorado would be a favorite out of the West.
Another thing that baffles me is how hard they have it too. Like they're gonna face the winner of Vegas, Minnesota, and like you're gonna go up against the Blues and then Vegas. That's tough. But if there's any team that can do it this year, it's definitely Colorado, man. They look dominant, and we forget that they even got Devin Dubnyk. So let's say Grubauer were to slow down, which is probably not happening. But let's say he were, you just go with Devin Dubnyk, and this guy's the vet. He's been in like 7 playoff series, so he's probably going to be composed too. But, I mean, Colorado to me is the team to beat. I actually have them. I know, Pagniello, you said they're kind of like they're like the Blues, but I see them being more like Tampa Bay. Like they're going to be dominant for, I want to say, at least 7 years, and they have to have a cup in at least one of those. Like what we've seen from Tampa Bay the last 6-7 years ever since they went to the finals in 2014 and came up short, that was the start of something beautiful with Johnson and Palat. And then all of a sudden they just keep coming. So I have them. I actually have them winning the cup this year just based off what I've seen in the first round. But I just want to talk about one more series before we talk about Kwame Brown. Of course, Washington getting bounced quickly by Boston. Didn't see that coming. What were your guys' thoughts on that? The top line, they came to play, and I guess they just dominated.
Take it, buddy.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that by Washington. Like, you look at the team they have, I don't think they should have lost to Boston here. Like, you have Kuznetsov come back. You missed some time, but Ovi, Mantha, I think that's the best kind of 1-2 for their team that they could have had. You have 2 lines with 2 big power forwards that can score. Backstrom's still there. He's still able to produce. Carlson on the back end. So this is going to be really tough for Washington. Like, they did get Chara. I thought that was perfect for them. Get another veteran on defense. Lundqvist, unfortunately, didn't play this year, but like maybe you're looking at going forward. Do you maybe bring him back if he's cleared to play and be a backup mentor role? Maybe they missed that for their goalie, but this is something where it's going to be a little bit tough. I think they had the perfect team to make a run this year, and because they didn't, they're going to probably have to make some trades, and I think Backstrom might be one of the guys they look at because of his contract.
I'm kind of with you. I feel like Washington's a little too good to go home 5 games in the first round. I'm not really surprised that Boston won. It's just the fact that it was in 5 games. I thought this would be a 7-game banger, and you kind of flip a coin on this one. I love the way the teams match up, but I don't know. I expected a little bit of more out of Washington. Every goal was one game, so it was pretty close. But yeah, the Bruins they banged this one out, and their top guys beat out Washington. So it's a little disappointing from the Capital standpoint. But for Boston, they get to chill out now for like a week or two. So good on them.
Yeah, that's that. I'm right there with you guys. I thought Washington was the better team going into it, just based off of what we've seen from in the year, man. Like Tuukka Rask struggled tremendously. Pasternak at even strength was struggling, but that's not the case when it comes to the playoffs. Like we said, it's a completely different time. McAvoy's looked a lot more comfortable as that number one type defenseman as the seasons progressed. Grizzlick and Brandon Carlo, they're not flat. They're not going to jump at you on paper, but they're great role players on this team. At least that's what I've come to learn, especially Brandon Carlo. He'll eat you 23 minutes a night, and he'll hit, he'll block shots. He'll do the gritty stuff. So kudos to Boston making this one look easy. I had Washington winning this in 7, and Boston just came out and proved me wrong. So this is going to lead to my last question. Then we'll talk about Kwame, but can you see Boston beating the winner of Pittsburgh and New York, or do you see one of those guys beating Boston?
Oh, that could go either way. So I guess, yeah, I could see Boston winning. Their guys are a little bit older now, but they're still at the top of their game. Obviously, you could argue the first or second best line in hockey. Yeah, you were talking about there. Like McAvoy really took a step this year. Taylor Hall's rejuvenated. It's like his Buffalo stint didn't exist. So Boston's a really good team. I would probably like if you ask me them or Pittsburgh, I'd probably say Pittsburgh in 7. But like, yeah, out of those 3 teams, they could really go either way.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, I think, I think the Islanders, they would probably have a better matchup with. But going back with the Islanders, like they managed to overachieve and catch a lot of teams off guard, kind of like Carolina. So the Islanders are a dangerous team. Complete game that they have and coaching and everything. Like Barry Trotz is a great coach for them. Pittsburgh, I think they all need to hit their stride right away. Like they need Crosby, Malkin, Carter, Gensel to all click. It looks like they are, but then the goalie becomes a question mark. So I think Boston will be able to take advantage of that matchup, Rask and Jari. And then you're looking at the next series that they have and going to a conference final. I think, yeah, Boston could. It's just going to rely on the matchup that they have. I think that will be tough. If they can match up with Pittsburgh, the best shot they have is goalie. And if they match up with the Islanders, they're just going to have to be that complete game, or we're probably looking at a 7-game series for them.
Awesome stuff, boys. Aulino, take it away with Kwame.
All right. What a week last week was. The interview or rant that we've been all waiting for all these years finally happened. We're all saying all these years, just imagine if Kwame Brown came out and fired back at all the critics like Stephen A. and talked about his time with MJ, and that's exactly what this man did. Kwame Brown came in and let his voice be heard and ruffled a few feathers, talked about guys like Stephen A. Smith, All the Smoke podcast, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes. He went really hard on him. That guy Charlemagne the God. What are your thoughts on this new Kwame Brown, who we never heard speak in the last 20 years, and all of a sudden, this guy's he's quite the character.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Take it, buddy.
It really is amazing. I mean, after 20 years of insults, you would prove that, you would think that he would just give up, but no, he's had it bottled inside for so many years. So finally, in a world full of media, it's perfect to do it now. So I'm kind of glad that he did it. I know that he's probably the biggest bust ever. Anthony Bennett can really challenge him for that, but Kwame Brown is up there as one of the most, he's one of the biggest busts ever, playing with Kobe, playing with MJ. He's played with the greats, so he's seen the work ethic, and they just bashed him, man. Like, your first overall, you don't have the work ethic, you don't have the means really to become a superstar. So it's a long time coming. I'm happy for him that he finally, voiced that all these insults have actually created some sort of mental trauma to him. So that's easily no joke. But at the end of the day, he has to understand that this is going to happen if you don't pan out as a first overall pick. I'm pretty sure Anthony Bennett is in the same realm. Alex Daig's in the same realm. It just happens. But again, especially in this world with media, it's definitely going to eat him up probably a little more than a guy like a Daig back in the day when media wasn't really around. So it sucks for Kwame Brown, that he's had to go through all this, but I'm not surprised. It was a ticking time bomb, and it finally blew up.
Dude, I fucking love it. This has been such a long time coming because he has been the butt end of jokes for like the last 10 years. But, the way the world's turning, everyone seems to have a platform to get their voice out there. Why can't Kwame Brown be a part of that? He doesn't like what's being said. Fire right back. So I didn't even hear I just heard clips of what he was saying about Stephen A. I didn't even hear him going off, but I don't even have to. You already kind of have an idea because there's really not much of anything else to say about Kwame Brown. So I love that he fired back. When you look at it as a whole too, I'm sure he's sitting a little comfortably. He did play 10 years in the NBA. The guy's fucking loaded. I'm sure he sits at home nicely at the same time. But the fact that after all these years he finally said something, it's nice to see.
Oh, man, you got to see all these videos. I recommend everyone listening to this go to his channel, Kwame Brown. Gold right there. He has catchphrases, T-shirts, seasoning on Mama's Cooking is one of them, I think, where he fires back. And when he's going after somebody, you got debt to pay up. And he goes on a rant again. This is amazing. Firing back at everyone. I think it's going to make people question, okay, do we have to go after this player? Because in 20 years, we might have another Kwame Brown situation. One of the coldest lines I think he said in the media about Matt Barnes, you keep hitting him with basketball as a joke. That's all he has. And then Kwame Brown said, yeah, the joke I got is your whole life. And then just bars right there. I'm happy to see it. Good for him.
My favorite part in this whole thing is when Gilbert Arenas was talking about his time in Washington on All the Smoke pod, and then I think it was Kwame Brown. He just started bashing. He's like, if anything, you should blame MJ for going to Washington, and ending his career there. He ruined my career. And Steven Jackson, you're just a fake gangster, and you don't know what you're talking about. Stephen A is just. He bashes me for clickbait and all this stuff. So I love all the stuff that he said. He's firing back, and he's finally making some shots count. So it's good to see Kwame Brown do that. I'm sorry, I had to. It's all fun and games.
I don't want to talk after that line. That was a nice little wonder.
Oh,
look at that face. He's pissed.
Oh man. Gold. One more topic I just want to get to here because it came up actually yesterday was WWE is going on a 25 city tour on July 16th. They're starting, so Edge is supposed to come back on that Smackdown. They have John Cena making his return to Smackdown. What are your thoughts on this? What kind of, programs and feuds can you see lead into WrestleMania? And is John Cena going to take the head of the table's job and his title?
Nah. He's going to come back. He's going to put on a nice little program. It's been a while since it really has been a while since we've seen Cena in I know it was just last WrestleMania, but consistently on TV in a program. So seeing him come back after a while, hopefully he won't get booed out of the fucking building. Him and Roman can do something, and then Cena could put Roman over, as we all assume. But the fact that they're going on this little tour now, we're seeing in sports, stadiums are starting to get filled as each day passes. So if they feel like they're ready to get back out there and have fans in the arena, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's been hard to really gravitate towards wrestling without fans. So this is definitely very good news for me. But John Cena coming back, I love it. And this is me. I've never really enjoyed John Cena, especially near the end. He wasn't really putting people over, but it's a perfect time now. Roman Reigns is on the best heel run of his career. He's also getting some cheers, but still mostly boos, which means he's doing his job. But John Cena definitely won't get booed, 100%. I even feel like the fans that have booed him, I think they're going to be happy to see him, like me and Pagniello. Like over the years, it's kind of like, okay, who cares about John Cena? He's done. But, we haven't seen him in a while, so it will be interesting to see. I think the last full program that he did, it was either with AJ Styles or it was Roman Reigns back in 2017. So that would definitely be interesting. I remember the promos that Cena did to Reigns saying, you can't cut a promo and all that back in the day. That was awesome. So if we could see something like that, maybe towards SummerSlam or Survivor Series down the line, I'm all for it. I still would maybe have a Seth Rollins take it from Roman Reigns instead of John Cena. But again, if he wants to become the Universal Champion, he's never held that blue title. So that would just be another accolade to John Cena's tremendous Hall of Fame career. But I've missed Edge. I thought he was going to be a full-timer. I thought he was going to feud with Daniel Bryan, and then they just wrote Daniel Bryan off of SmackDown. But yeah, I absolutely love it for the WWE product. You need fans when it comes to wrestling. It just misses that element, and I absolutely love it for WWE, especially for a guy like John Cena. This guy hasn't been around for a year, hasn't been consistently around for 4. So for me, being a guy that's watched him basically my whole life, it's going to be great to see him out there again.
Yeah, and SummerSlam, it looks like they're going to Vegas for that 70,000 seat stadium. So Cena bringing back, he's coming off Fast 9, which is coming out in June. Perfect timing. You can do that same WrestleMania entrance with the car, would actually make sense this time. And he can maybe face Roman Reigns. Do you think they'll throw a curveball and have him face Bobby Lashley?
Oh, man. Yeah, they should do that. They should do that first over Roman Reigns. Just because they got the Cena stuff out of the way a couple years ago and they blew their shot at whatever it was, No Mercy. Now it's time to give your man Bobby Lashley a chance. Let him take down Cena. Because he is the WWE champion. He's fucking rolling, so you should give Bobby some love. So I would love to see him take on Cena, and they can do their little rematch from, oh my God, what was it?
14 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever Great American Bash will say until I'm corrected. So that would be cool.
I agree there. I think that's the better approach because Lashley's been on a run where it's not as predictable as Roman's. Like his heel work has been astronomical. Both of them have done outstanding stuff, but I still feel like Lashley is missing that like marquee match. And I think if he were to not even beat John Cena, just like I would even maybe squash him, like just kind of like what Lesnar did at SummerSlam 2014. Just have him go out there and just show him that this is now it's his show. He's been gone for a while, and he's been going through guys like Drew, like Braun. He beat the Miz for it. So like this is a run that we are going to remember for a very long time with Bobby and with Roman. So I really hope they don't mess that up. I like what you said there, Pagniello, with, they really haven't done that with Lashley in a very long time. So that would be a curveball for sure. And I don't see John Cena winning if he were to face Bobby Lashley, because I still think the big payoff for this whole run is for him to beat or maybe even lose against Brock Lesnar.
Down for that. Should be good. Money in the Bank's gonna have fans, which is nice. So the superstar that wins it, I guess, gets one nice push. Not like last year where there was cinematic and it was totally all over the place with Otis and Asuka. They were all in the same match. That was messed up. Poor Rey Mysterio got thrown off a fucking roof, lost his eyeball after. Was not a good year for Rey. But I guess one more here that we'll go to. This Sunday is AEW Double or Nothing. They're going to have a full crowd there. Any surprises you're thinking could appear, or you think this is going to be a nice little showcase for AEW?
Ooh. I don't really want to say big surprises. I think the only surprise would probably be I don't want to say anybody from NXT, but like Velveteen Dream would probably be the guy that I think would make that Double or Nothing. He will make his debut there, and I think that'll cause a big ruckus So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to. But the thing that I'm looking forward to most is this run by Miro. I don't really know what to expect. I know he beat Darby Allin clean. I know that there are rumors that he's going to start doing open challenges for the TNT title. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I'm all for it. I'm all for Miro. We all loved him in WWE, so him getting this opportunity, it's really not surprising. The fact that he actually had to wait quite a bit to get this it's eye-opening for me. I think he's way better than a Ty Dillinger when he first went there, and I absolutely love what Miro's doing. But if there is a big surprise, I really want to see either CM Punk, which I know is not going to happen, go to AEW, but I'll go with Velveteen Dream. He'll make his debut there.
Yeah, Miro's going to fuck up Lance Archer. He's much better than Dillinger when they're at the top of their game. Surprises, if it is double or nothing. They did have one recently with Christian coming back, so my initial thought was no, but I feel like they got something up their sleeve over there.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at that battle royal, that casino thing, the buy-in, whatever they call it. Big Show's pictures there, so I guess he's gonna do commentary. But I see a swerve. I think Big Show's gonna be in the match. It's gonna be his in-ring debut for AEW. Maybe they lead to a match with him and Shaq at All Out. But I don't know what to make of him being in the ring there with some of those guys. It might look a little weird because he's way bigger than them. So I guess I'll get that rub there of being a giant in AEW. And CM Punk, I think, would be a nice one. I think it's doubtful, but I'm with Chris on that. That would be the biggest surprise if AEW is going to pull one.
Like another thing too that I'm really, really looking forward to is the team of Sting and Darby Allin, because again, like Sting is a big name and Darby Allin's another guy. He's up and coming, and Scorpio Sky can really, he's underrated for me. But I also love what they're doing in the main event. You're subtracting Jon Moxley in the main event. That's pretty smart. He's now going for the AEW World Tag Titles with Eddie Kingston, so I think that's pretty smart. You have Kenny Omega go up against Orange Cassidy, who is one of the biggest baby faces in all of professional wrestling, and of course Pac. So you have the really, really, the really big baby face in Orange Cassidy. You have the tweener / heel in Pac, and you have the best guy in the company in Kenny Omega. This is going to be entertaining, fast paced. We saw what didn't they face each other already? Kenny versus Pac in a singles match, like when he first went to AEW. I'm pretty sure that happened.
Oh yeah, they had a couple.
Yeah, so they already have a little bit of history, and you add, of course, Orange Cassidy's uniqueness and his babyface, credibility. This is going to be an unreal main event, if it main events.
Can you imagine Orange Cassidy winning the title?
Oh, no, definitely not. No, that's a swerve of the century. I don't see that happening.
Will he win the TNT title at some point, though?
Yes, he will. Yeah, that I believe. But, it's so awesome to see so Lashley's run, Omega's run, and Reigns' run is all happening at the same time, and it's absolutely fantastic stuff. So I wouldn't change anything right now. I got all those champs retaining at their next pay-per-view.
Yeah, I feel like Orange Cassidy at some point, not this pay-per-view. I feel like at some point he's going to win the world title.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of people online that would have a meltdown of the old school guys. I think Jim Cornette comes to mind right away if that happens. Oh, man.
It's going to be a ruckus. But, I remember thinking, I'm like, what the fuck? What are they going to have for this guy? Like, when they first signed him, how's he going to fit in? What's going to happen? And right away, they made him an important part of the tag division. And then he's just kind of been there ever since. He's always been a part of something serious, a part of a main feud, and now he finds himself in a triple threat match with Kenny Omega and Pac. That's fucking insane for the type of thing that he does. So I don't know how they're going to get there. I don't think it's going to be this pay-per-view, but at some point, Orange Cassidy will win the AEW World Championship.
That's a hot take.
Oh, yeah.
Book it.
Well, that's it for this week, no?
Yeah, that's it, buddy.
It was a great episode. Oh my God. We talked a lot. Talked about the NHL, talked about the NBA, talked about your boy, Kawhi Leonard. Let's see if he can get past Luka Doncic in the first round. Of course, we saw a bunch of upsets in game one. The Grizzlies winning. Again, Portland, it's not an upset, but they're the lower seed. And that was it for this week. We talk about Kwame Brown, WWE SummerSlam, AEW is this Sunday. Make sure to tune in there. And make sure to listen to this podcast because we are kick ass.